for coming. Okay, so like I said, my husband's not home. My kids are out in their jammies. They're supposed to be so good. We had a deal. We shook on it. We'll see how long it lasts. Um, but this is honestly how I've been running my business for the last year. This isn't important, but to give you a backstory, my husband sells solar, and a lot of their appointments are in the evening when people are home from work. And it's so hard because that's when I like want to do things, is like in the evening. And I cannot rely on my husband because his schedule is just like, who knows how long appointments are going to take. And so if this is something that you struggle with in your business of like a lot of women who sell doTERRA, you are not the primary breadwinner, right? And so it's like you have to do this on the side of motherhood or like other responsibilities. And I get it. It's so hard to balance all of it and struggle. But please don't use it as a crutch or an excuse to build your business, because I'm telling you, like the majority of the time I was pushing for founder, my husband was gone. And so it's like a benefit to be building online where most of my people in my community do build online. But yeah, like Brooke said, like going live with a toddler on your lap. Exactly. And what's so amazing is most of the time I'm talking to other moms who do give you grace, right? And are proud of you for showing up the way that you are anyway. So if we do have any interruptions, I'm going to apologize in advance. So I was really excited to talk about this today. It's been kind of like a long time coming that I've been wanting to do this, but I want to be totally transparent with you. After I hit founder, I sort of went numb. Like I was just like, okay, I'm founder, now what, right? Like there wasn't really like confetti falling from the sky or anything. And then I hit a big wall and I was super burnt out. And I just didn't have the passion for doTERRA anymore or the drive. And I was like, what is the matter with me? How come I feel this way? But apparently what I felt is what a lot of people felt after a big founder push or like a big goal push. But today on the call I talked about on my Instagram, you guys probably saw that. That's why you're here. It really ignited me and it made me realize how lucky I am to be a part of this business. And I found my love and passion again for doTERRA. And I know that sounds bad, but I really did lose it for a minute. So if you ever go through this, I think we all have the ups and downs. If you ever feel so low, just know it's so normal and you'll bounce back. There's always something or someone that can do or say things that really help you get back on track. So most of you here either sell doTERRA, might be on different teams, or some of you are a customer, which is amazing. So most of you know that doTERRA is a product-driven company. So if you're not using the product, you're going to have a really hard time selling the product. I love that doTERRA requires you to order if you want to get paid, because it just makes sense. Like you got to know what you're talking about. So first and foremost, I had to use the product and I had to really understand what it was doing for me in order to relay it to customers, to obviously convince them that like they need this product in their life. So if you don't have that connection with doTERRA products, that's the first thing I recommend is having that love for doTERRA's products and understand that doTERRA is driven by purity. Most of us know that doTERRA essential oils are sourced indigenously, which means they go to farmers where the crops or the plants are grown. And through their efforts, I found this really awesome resource. I can send it to you guys after the call if you want, but they support 360,000 jobs. 360,000. That's just on the sourcing side. That's not like all of us wellness advocates, which there are thousands of us as well. And through those jobs, they've impacted over 1 million lives. And this was according to last year. They have this report every single year. We all know that doTERRA continues to be the largest company and the purest company on the market. And we lead with purity and effectiveness. So if you don't have an understanding of like and a love of doTERRA, that will also help you, because it's really going to help your potential customers or potential builders see the love that you have for doTERRA and like the legitimacy of doTERRA, right? So on my stories, I talked about how I was 1% in the company, and that's because of Founder 2.0. But I found another statistic that I think you guys might find super impressive. So managers, is like the number one level. Managers, directors, executives, elites, and premiers. Those 5 ranks make up 22% of the wellness advocates. The top 22%. That's pretty amazing. So we all know we have placeholders and people like that who are right on our tree that are helping us build because they're holding that place. When we find the builder, we're going to plug them in. But on average of those 5 ranks, which can be people who are just not even building, there are placeholders, but on average, people are making $4,000 to $10,000 a year just doing that. And I think that's so amazing. So being in the top 1%, you have to be a silver, gold, platinum, diamond, blue diamond, presidential diamond. And more than 97% of wellness advocates stay after 1 year of being with doTERRA. And that is a huge percentage, especially in the MLM world with direct sales. So I just want to give you a little bit of background and context about like what it means. So being in the 1% is amazing, but I wanted to show you what that meant. Like that means being silver and above, you're in the top 1% of the company. So I wanted to show you that because it's not like it's unattainable. And I know sometimes depending on where you're at, it's so easy. I did it before I hit founder. It's so easy to look at someone else's accomplishments and be like, wow, how'd she get there? I'll never get there. Or like you think it's a timing thing. Like, man, if I would have signed up when she did X amount of months ago or whatever, but it's not even about that. Like there's still so much room for growth and nothing is stopping you from getting into that top 1%. So, I'm going to just be super frank, and I don't think this call is going to be very long unless you guys interact with me and you ask me questions, and I'm going to be an open book because I want to help you guys be successful. So how did I build? By the way, I have notes because I don't want to miss my thoughts of what I was saying. So that's why I keep looking down. But so the question is, how did I build to a platinum and earn Founder 2.0 position? And this is just, I'm just going to be super frank about it. Okay. You cannot grow a strong business on your own. Like that is just not the way that it is set up in doTERRA. Like you cannot build a strong business on your own. You need a team. You need people under you who are placeholders or making those, few $100 orders and the customers that are supporting you. So I love that there are the requirements in order to get paid. I already mentioned that before because that's how we know what our products are. And I need builders and customers under me, just as you guys do, in order to be sustainable, right? I need to keep inspiring, keep using the products, and not only like for the sake of understanding the product, but like people love stories and people love success stories. And I have one huge success story. I have a few, but I have one main one that like I can't tell it without crying. And it's when my son had an allergic reaction to eggs. And it was like my scariest moment of my whole motherhood life because his throat was closing and he couldn't breathe. And I can tell that story over and over again, and I can tell it till he's probably 18 years old. And it is so impactful. And I will cry every time because it was like, it shook me. And that's why we need to use the products, because we need big moments, big learning curves and stuff like this that are going to make us cry every time we say it. That's going to make people be like, wow, I want to be like that. I want to be prepared like that. I want to take care of my child like that. Right. So we need to be using the products. We need to have our customers under us ordering. We need to have our builders ordering. But I relied on those orders to an extent. You cannot rely on your builders to hit your goals. And I thought I could do that. I thought that, in the beginning of maybe summer of 22, so last summer, I was like, okay, I got this. I have my 3 solid legs, right? And like I got to be a silver, so they're elite. So I'm like, okay, their next step, right? They're going to be premier and then they're going to be silver. And I thought that I could rely on them because that was like, it's what I did, how I ranked. So I thought I could rely on them, but, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I could not rely on them. You cannot let someone else's drive steer your goals because you will not get where you want to be if you're relying on other people. Okay. So I had to rely on me to hit my goals. If I wanted to rank, my team has to rank, right? You guys all know this. But if they didn't rank, and like, let's say it's the 27th of the month, and they're like burnt out and they're thinking, oh, I'm not going to hit it. And I need 3,000 OV. And I'm like wanting them to push and they're not pushing. Guess what's happening? I'm getting frustrated. And then I'm resenting them. And then I'm like, hello, this is what we do, right? But guess what? My builders do not build the same way that I do. They don't have the same drive that I do to hit my goals, especially when it came to founder, right? So if I needed a 3 extra thousand OV at the end of the month, I had to do it. And I think that is the biggest thing that is going to make and break your business is you've got to stop putting pressure on your leaders to hit a certain rank in order for you to rank advance, especially if it's not their goal. Like if it's your goal, you know, Brooke.
Okay, I had a really quick question for you, and I guess I could ask this to lots of people, but how do you find your builders? I think that's something that I've struggled with. I have my placements, my mom, my mother-in-law, people that are willing to fill those spots temporarily, but I haven't found anyone who has that, even a drive, not even my drive, but a drive to do this. So how have you found your people?
That's such a good question. Let me tell you, every single call I have ever been on, people ask this question. Like people who are higher ranked than me when I went to that summit retreat asked that question. So that is like the $1 million question everyone wants to know. And my builders personally, one of them, Eden gave Kelsey to me. And we just were like, hey, we're friends. Okay, let's build together. Right. The other one is my mom, which she's been using doTERRA longer than I have. Right. She kind of builds, but she doesn't do online and stuff like that. And then my other one is Randy, my friend from high school. Okay. Those are my 3 main builders. I also have placeholders, but I have also found other builders online. And the only time I have found a builder is when I'm talking about the business. And I have felt a little uncomfortable talking about the business online because I hate those reels that are like, I retired my husband and I make this much money, because I just don't resonate with that, because that's not why I started doTERRA. Although now I'm in doTERRA and I have been making money and I have noticed a difference. And so I like that. And my passion for becoming like the main breadwinner or whatever has grown, but I don't want to lead with that. Right. And so I personally have had a kind of a hard time recruiting people because I don't know how to really pitch the idea of the business. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So one builder I found, I was doing an incentive and I was like, anyone who enrolls gets a diffuser. And it was like those bubble diffusers. Remember the colors that were like orange and turquoise and green? I just said anyone that enrolls and wants to be a builder with me and grow your business online, and I get to teach you everything, you get to pick from one of these. And a girl did it. And it absolutely blew me away because she was like, I don't even know how I found you, but I love what you do and blah, blah, blah. And we had no other connections, like no other friends of friends or anything like that. She lives like states away from me. And it was so cool because I was like, wow, my content online is actually reaching people that I don't know, you know, and it wasn't from my upline gifting it to me or anything like that, which was super nice. So that was one way. Another way was just someone sharing my content and finding my page and then wanting to enroll. And they had tons of questions, like basically, what are you going to do for me? What does it look like? We lost Brooke, but now she's back. or I'll have to send you this recording so then you can hear what I was saying. But I was saying one of them was an incentive. I was saying, hey, you get this diffuser if you enroll. And the other one was someone shared my content and someone found me and they were like, I love what you stand for, but tell me more. What is it like? What do I have to do? And how can I learn it? And what sort of resources are you going to give me? And so I've realized that on Instagram, sometimes that's what you have to do. But a lot of the time on Instagram, the people following you are not the ones interested in the business, but it's still worth it to share online. So like, for example, Danny Flynn, I did a call with her, with my team last week. If you won't follow her, I think it's just at Danny Flynn, but she gets on her Instagram and she talks so much about the business opportunity. And she doesn't necessarily find people online about it, but she still talks about it online. And I love the way that she talks about it. She like came from corporate, worked from 9 to 5, and she is trying to retire her husband. And she has a goal to make X amount of money. And everything that she says, it just aligns with me so well. I'm like, oh, I love the way that you do your business. And I think that's another way that you can approach it. It's the way that you approach how you run your business. If you're doing it part-time on the side for a little bit of cash, maybe that's probably not what you want, but that's what it is right now. People who you recruit are going to expect the same thing, you know? So I feel like if you want to recruit high-level recruiting people, you need to become that yourself, you know? And Brooke, you're doing a great job, like showing up, doing in-person things, putting yourself out there and feeling so awkward, but like in a new town and like I just feel like you get to start fresh, you know, and you just get to write a name for yourself. So I think the short answer to this really long explanation is if you want to find business builders, you got to talk about the business more. And the way that you talk about the business are the people that you're going to recruit. So, and I don't mean this in a rude way because I love moms. I'm a mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I do this on the side, right? But I do not want a mom that is doing it on the side. Do you know what I'm saying? And I know that sounds awful because yes, your kids come first and yes, you are a mother first. But I have now reached the point in my business where I'm like, I want to go to the top. And so I want someone who is dedicated and willing to go to the top too. And so I think you do need to create like an ideal builder in your mind, you know, and like there's something about that manifestation that really does come to pass. I'm going to share a story about that a little bit. It's not about finding a builder, but it works the same way. So I don't know if that was helpful. I felt like I rambled. It was good. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share a little bit of a story. Did someone have a question? No? Okay. About how I can't rely on other people and I have to rely on me. So I remember having a goal to hit, I think it was silver for the first time. It was in the summer of 2022 last year. And we were halfway through the month. I think it was July because I remember being in Idaho with family and like, you know, how you're on vacation, it's really hard to like be in your normal groove of things. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm halfway through the month and I have not really even done anything with my business right now. And you guys, most of you know, to be silver, you need to have 3 solid legs that are elite and they have to have 3,000 OV, right? So you have to have a minimum at least of 9,000 OV in order to qualify. I wasn't even halfway. I didn't even have 4,500 OV yet. And I was like, I want to hit silver. And I had never hit silver. So silver was like huge for me. I was just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't really understand, but I think this is it, you know? And so I had called Eden, she's my upline, and I said, hey, I want to hit silver this month. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I don't remember my exact OV, but it was under 4,500. I'm like, I'm not quite halfway there, but I have, you know, half the month left. And so I set this goal and I did the math and I needed at least 20 enrollments of 200 OV to get this volume. Like if no other customers ordered, right, on my account. To even get me like a little bit close, okay? And Eden thought I was absolutely crazy, but she didn't tell me that. Like you guys know Eden, she's super encouraging and she just was like, okay, I would love to see that happen. Like you go girl, you know? And I freaking did it. And it was the craziest thing. I remember I go to church on Sunday, so I'm sitting in sacrament meeting and I'm getting people like DMing me and wanting to do, and I am just like, I'm texting everyone, just like, here's your link, here's your link. And I don't want to say I don't know how I did it, but I don't know how I did it. Okay. Other than I was like, I need 20 enrollments in 15 days and I got to do it to hit silver, like now. And I was doing Zoom calls, I was doing lives, I was on my Instagram all the time, I was throwing up 2 reels a day. Like I was working my business, okay? And it wasn't a part-time thing. My poor children were neglected for those 15 days because I just like drove it home. And I did not rely on Eden to put any enrollments underneath me. Like I wasn't like, hey Eden, I really hope to hit silver. Can you help me out? Like I have never asked Eden to help me out. I have never asked her to put enrollments under me. I am just like the girl that sets the goal and I'm like, I am going to do this. I have to do this. Okay. And I didn't just push for a few days and then give up when enrollments didn't come in. And I feel like that happens a lot. We get fired up, we're all motivated, we're going to set these goals and we do it for like a day or two or on day 3, day 4, and no one's doing anything and you get frustrated and you get burnt out. And so then you stop. And that is not when you should stop. You were like right at the climax. You're like almost there. Like I've just learned that you have to keep pushing through and the people still have to keep seeing your stories. And even though you feel so redundant, you're like, I'm doing the same things all the time. You freaking keep pushing it. So, even when, I wanted to quit, I didn't because so with every enrollment, I'm like, okay, 19, 18, 17, 16. And I would update Eden. She was so annoyed at me, I'm sure. But I was like, dude, I got another enrollment. Or like, this one was only 180, but I got this one that was 240. And so and I did my math and I calculated it and I like knew everyone's OV. Like I knew everything and I updated it more than every day, probably like a couple hours throughout the day. I would like, okay, how much closer am I? And that sort of push is not sustainable. That is not how I could run my business for 12 months of the year, right? But that was like the big goal that I really wanted to push. And I pushed like my life depended on it. And that is the other thing that makes me different from the other people that aren't hitting their goals. And this is something I talked about with Danny Flynn because she retired from corporate America and she literally needs her paycheck to live. It makes a big difference the way that you show up in your business when you need your paycheck. I don't need my paycheck. I mean, I want it, but like my husband makes the money. We don't really need my paycheck. And so when I first started doing doTERRA, I just was like, oh, this is fun. Look how cute. Oh, I got a $30 check. That's so cute. I didn't need it, right? I still now don't need it, but I want it so freaking bad. I want it so bad. So now when I show up in my business, and even like with the founder push, like the money wasn't the motivation for founders for me. It was just more of like the point in the scoreboard. And I said I was going to do it. And I stick to my word when I say I'm going to do something. So that's the difference is you show up in your business and you push like your life depends on it. And if you want to be in the top 1%, you don't have any other options than to do it. And that is the end of my rant. So I think it's really important to look at your business and the way that you show up, in the way that you are relying on your downline, the way that you are relying on your upline, and realize that you are the one now in control and you are the one that can be relied on. Let your downline look up to you, let your upline look down at you, and you be the one that shows up in your business. So that's all I have to say. Do you guys have any other questions? You can ask me whatever you want. I hope this was helpful and encouraging. And I wish someone would have said this to me when I was pushing, because you don't really know how to run a business. In my opinion, I didn't know how to do this because I'd never done it before, you know? And so when I was pushing for a goal, I didn't really understand that this is what I had to do. And I learned the hard way, and I have resented my team, and I have resented my upline and my downline and my crossline. And that is like the worst place to be in, because the only place you need to be looking is in the mirror. Sarah says, did learning your strengths change how you did things? Yes. So when I first got a account manager, you get one when you're a silver. So that was last summer after I had done that push. And they were like, hey, you should do your strengths test. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did it. And then I really thought it was just bogus. I'm like, I'm not looking into that anymore. And then, doTERRA did like was it leadership this year in Florida? It was like all focused on strengths. So it was like on your badges and stuff. And then people were like, oh, what are you? What are you? What are you? And I still didn't get it. And I didn't really even resonate with like my top 5 strengths. But then I did Silver Club. If you've never done Silver Club or Diamond Club, I highly recommend it. But I did Silver Club and Eddie Villa was on there. And a girl told him her top 5 strengths. And she's like, I feel like everyone's building online. I don't want to build online. What can I do? What do I have to do? And he's like, you don't have to build online. And he basically told her who she was. And she was so inspired by it. So I had raised my hand and I said, do that to me. I said, but I'm opposite. I do build online. I do not want to do in person. He's like, hey, what are your strengths? So I told him my top 5 strengths. He's like, okay, now what are your bottom strengths? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, I knew you were going to say that. And then he sat there and told me about who I was. And I was like, how do you know that? And you guys know probably Eddie's like the strengths guru. And so then I set up another call with him and I actually hired him to be my coach when I was doing my push for founders, because when you are in such a big commitment and a big goal, like my life depended on Founder 2.0, my mental health was really bad, like really, really bad. And I knew I needed help because I didn't want doTERRA and my rank to be my identity. And it was totally becoming my psycho obsession about it. So I worked with Eddie for a little bit and he helped me really understand my strengths more. And I feel like once he helped me understand my strengths this summer, and I feel like that really gave me confidence to show up and be me. And I think that is also another crucial part in having a doTERRA business. Is it's so easy to look at other people and then try to show up like them, but it actually will burn you out when you try to be like someone else. And to see the beauty and the benefit of being you is super helpful. And so if you haven't done your strengths, I super encourage you to. I hope that answered your question, Sarah. Do you have your strengths? Your top 5? That's awesome. Do you have all of your strengths? That's awesome. When I got my bottom strengths, I was like, I'm the worst person ever. And Eddie also helped me understand my bottom strengths, which was so helpful and insightful. Clancy says, what resources do you look to for structuring? Okay, structuring is like, man, it's a big deal. So, thankfully, my uplines have had experience of what not to do. So they've helped me with what to do. But no structure can be perfect. And that's what sucks, especially like when you recruit someone and you don't know if they're going to order and then all of a sudden they want to sell and you're like, I wish you weren't here and I wish you were here, right? So I have a really good relationship with my account managers, and once you rank advance higher, they give you I don't want to say privileges, but I think exceptions, like the exceptions department, I think they're a little bit nicer on you because they're like, oh, they're working hard. So I've put through a ton of exceptions. And the only way I know how to do that is through my account manager. So when I was pushing for founder, Morgan was my account manager. She's amazing. And she was really good at looking at my structure and seeing, what could benefit me and what could go where and where we could put someone else. And like, oh, do you have someone here? And I also want to say there was this one spot that, especially for founders, because there were parts where I would get like 3 points, but it was like such a big deal to move this person, to get this person here for just 3 points. And I think sometimes people are like, it's 3 points, it's nothing. And I'm like, no, 3 points is going to get me 3 points closer to 1,000 points. I have to do this. So my account manager also had an idea. So there was this girl that was like, I want to do it, right? And she was all gung-ho, and then she ghosted me. And I'm like, hey, can I have your spot? Hey, can you do that? Like, and she nothing. Okay. So I asked Morgan, I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, let's just move people out from under her. Like, let's just, instead of, putting someone else in her spot. Let's just move them. I'm like, how do we do that? And that took forever too. And so the main resources that I look to when structuring my business is my account manager. Sometimes my upline, there's like when we talk about where we can put things and things like that. And the other tricky part with structuring is like, especially with pushing for a founder or pushing for a goal, sometimes you want to place people where it's beneficial to you so you can rank advance. But where you place that person, maybe you're putting it under someone who's not building and maybe who isn't like undeserving to have that leader there, versus like another tree that like, they're showing up and you kind of want to reward that person. So sometimes you have to decide, like, am I gonna help my builder and am I gonna put them under there, or am I gonna do what's best for me? And that's always hard too. So I would just recommend talking to your upline or account managers, or anyone that you like really trust, I guess, with doTERRA, that's like, hey, what would you do in this situation? So hope that answers your question, Clancy. When you enroll a customer, do you always ask if they want to do the business? I don't. I probably could, because what's the worst they can say is no, right? But I feel like that's something that you could do. There has been a time, like, how I feel like the old school way is like make your list of people of who you'd want to work with, like your ideal person, and then like approach them and talk to them about it. Danny Flynn does that, but she does it in such a natural way, and it's just like so much of who she is that like it makes sense. But I'm like, if I tried to duplicate that, it would feel so not me, right? So I've actually asked one of my friends to do the business with me, but it was pretty casual and it was on what's that called? Not FaceTime, Marco Polo. And I'm like, dude, you should do this with me. Like, it would be so fun. Like, doTERRA tells you to like think of this person, who do you want to work with? It's your best friend. I'm like, that's you. Like, we should do the business. And I just kind of laughed, like, do it, and she's like, and she's like, I'm not doing an MLM, and it probably could have been approached differently by me. But this is something that I want to work on. That's why I'm doing this call, is I want to get more comfortable about talking about the business. And I encourage all of you guys, if you want to do a Zoom class and just practice talking about the business and see what it is that you say, like this, when someone asks you a question, like, it's actually really cool to see what comes up, because you can see what type of person that you are, what type of builder you are, and things like that. And I still have so much more I need to learn, but being in doTERRA's leadership call today, and not just today, but all the time, you get to learn from a lot of like experienced people that have, recruited people successfully. And I think that that's another benefit of having someone in your upline, or like me, like Clancy, you're not in my organization, but I'm like, yeah, come to this call, So when you see people hosting free Zoom classes and like talking about ways that you can improve your business, I think it's super impressive for you to show up, because you're just showing that you want to grow your business, So I would also say, just take opportunities to learn about the business from other people, because you can see what resonates with you and what doesn't, and what's working for some people and what's, not working for others. So I don't think that really answers your question, but maybe I should try doing that. Asking people if they want to do the business with me when they enroll. Do you do that, Clancy?
No, I don't. So that's why, but some people like my upline and cross lines and things, they do that, especially for structuring and for wanting to figure things out. And so it never feels authentic to who I am or like the way customers enroll. And so I haven't done it. But I'm just curious if other people are doing it too, or if it's just like this specific group
Yeah,
of people that are in my structure right now, or in my organization.
I don't know anyone that does it. I do know, at least in my organization, Brooke, I don't know, and Sarah, but I have gotten pretty comfortable at asking people if they want to be a placeholder for me. And most of the time people say yes. And I think it's because I act like it's no big deal, because it's really not. I just need you here because I need to place more people, which has been super helpful with the structuring. Because if you don't have the placeholders, then your lines are getting too long, right? And you want them to go down because that's where you're making your greater percentage. And so I've gotten pretty comfortable at doing that. But then that's kind of led me to like hard things when like I can't get a hold of people. Like if I do want to have someone fill in that gap in that hole. And so it just takes a little bit longer time, but I don't know. It is beneficial to ask people to be a placeholder. And then through that, I've had customers. So I'm like, hey, you're like a loyal customer. Would you be a placeholder for me? And then they've been like interested, and they'll show up on business calls. They'll like listen about, doTERRA more than just the product, like the greater part of doTERRA, but they still haven't pulled the plug, and like they still haven't done it. And so I just kind of wait patiently for those people. But I really do feel like timing is everything with when people sign up with doTERRA, and just being patient with people. Like maybe they're like, oh, I'll think about it, and then they don't do it. There is a timing. Like think about when you signed up with doTERRA, like I think we all have that story of like, I signed up at this time because I felt pulled to do it, or like I felt so inspired by this person, but yeah, I just really feel like if you focus more on the business, like that's where we want to grow. When you focus on it, that's what you're going to see. I want to tell you this quick analogy before I end this call. On that global leadership call today, the keynote speaker was Justin Sua. He was at leadership in Florida this year. He's like I don't know, maybe a mental health coach, but he works with like professional baseball players, professional football players. He's kind of a big deal. Okay. So I just love who he is as a person, but he talked about 3 things about in your business: time, attention, and energy. And the energy, he talked about our focus. And he said, focus isn't something that you do, it's something that you have. And so he said, I want you to think of focus like a flashlight. He said, let's say we're standing in the room, we all have a flashlight, and I tell you to point the flashlight at the window. And I tell you to point the flashlight at the door. Can you see the window anymore? Why are you trying to look at the window when I told you to look at the door? Like your light is on the door, look at the door. And so I think that's the other, like just the analogy of like the flashlight. Where am I putting my focus on my business? Am I pointing it at my rank? Because if I'm pointing it at my rank, all I'm doing is getting frustrated, because your rank isn't going to magically change. It's the other things that are going to be helping you, like, the money making activities that are going to help you rank advance. Like your rank can be your goal, but don't leave your flashlight there. And so I think if you put your flashlight on business builders and that's where your focus is, like let it be there for a little bit, It doesn't mean that people aren't going to enroll with you or you're not going to grow in your business, because I think it just helps you develop in a different way on a business level. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I have to say about that. Terry said, my upline wants me to do it her way, and it's not for me. It's very business, less professional, or sorry, less personal. I've been with doTERRA for such a long time, 12 years. Wow, that's amazing. Where do you start? Where should I start? Sorry, my cursor is like blocking out these words. Should I start if I don't resonate with her structured plan? Do I create my own resources and create my own online classes? I feel like I'm making this harder than it is or needs to be. Yes, Terry, that is so hard. If I can just say anything that you could hear is do it your way. I don't know if you know my upline, Terry, her name's Sydney Sheriff, and she was just like you. She had uplines that told her how to do it and when to do it, and this is what you do, and it was not working for her, and she was so frustrated, and she did it like that for years, and she was so frustrated. And it wasn't until Sydney stepped away from that and was like, okay, what is my way? What will work for me? And she started doing it on Instagram, and she's now built a huge community of all of us. And we're all like wanting to copy Sydney. We're like, let's be like Sydney, because the way she does it is so authentic to her. It is just so like magnetic that you're just like, man, I want to be like her, because she is so much her that it is inspiring.
I do follow her, and she is, it's the epitome of what I felt for such a long time, and it's like so mind-boggling because it almost like hasn't been done before within like the doTERRA community. Like I said, I've been with doTERRA for a really long time, and I have really felt like I've always wanted to do the business, but I get stuck in the how and the like the logistics, the business side, and
Yeah.
it's hard because my upline is my mother-in-law, and she is a diamond. She's been diamond for a really long as I've been in it, but like it's not how I want to do it, but she wants me to do it her way, and it's just so hard because um I get stuck in my head, and I can't get out of, well, I'm not confident enough to know that I know what I'm talking about, and wanting to do it my way because I don't feel like she um would encourage that.
Yeah.
Um
So on this call today that I had with the global leaders, after Justin was done talking, Goddard, Natalie, I always want to call her Emily Goddard. I don't know why. Natalie Goddard. She talked a little bit, like summarized a little bit, gave a little bit more experience, but she said, clear is kind. And it is like embedded to my brain right now. So she said, if you're clear with your team, you're being kind. And as you were talking, that just came back to me. Like, Terry, if you could be clear with your mother-in-law, which I'm sure is a little awkward because not only is she like your mentor, but she's your mother-in-law.
right.
But to be clear with her, and being clear is kind. Like you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be like, your way doesn't work for me and it's the worst, you know? But just to be like, I'm wanting to do something else. He did. Okay, stay right here, okay? Don't go downstairs. Sorry. So yeah, I really feel like if you could be clear. Okay, lay on my bed. If you could be clear with her, I just really feel like she would be understanding. Like when I talk to my upline, I love my upline. Eden and Sydney, they are amazing. I couldn't ask for better uplines, but not everything they do resonates with me. I would, don't throw up. Okay, go in the bathroom.
Oh my gosh, go.
He's okay.
Go. No, seriously. Oh.
Oh, he's okay. But like, for example, with Eden, she's like, let's just love people the way that they are, and let's rally around them, and let's support them the way that they want to show up, like, which I think is amazing, right? Like we should all do that. But my mindset in my business, I'm like, I can't take the half effort. I cannot support that. Like, I want you to still be here, but I need to move you somewhere else on my tree because this is not working for me, right? And so me and Eden have a difference there, which is fine. She's not right and I'm not wrong, and I'm not right and she's not wrong, right? It's just a difference. And so I just feel like if you could really focus on that with your mother-in-law and just be like, isn't that what I want? And then like what you're doing right now, Terry, like showing up in different places, like what Clancy is. Clancy's like, I'm in your same boat. Finding the people that are going to inspire you and that you resonate with is, maybe you won't throw up.
Oh.
He's so funny.
Oh.
No, okay. Anyway, but Brooke also said that I don't know if you're reading the comments, but most of our community builds online, and Brooke does do online, but she's also branched out and she started doing in-person events, and she's killed it this month. She got like 5 enrollments. Like
This.
but then Brooke also said for her. Literally could not agree with that more. Could not love that more.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you letting me hop on your call and everything. So
Of course. Um,
Mom, can I do
we have a lot of resources in my community, so if, okay,
okay.
go over there for a minute. We have a lot of resources in our community, and so if you message me, I can send you, I don't know if you follow all of our upline and stuff like that, but I would love to help you because I can't imagine how hard that must be. And Clancy is like the same way. I think she found me last year on Instagram, and then she's starting to follow Sydney and Eden, and
Mm.
it's really nice to get in with people that you resonate with and that you are inspired by.
yeah, I appreciate it. And I thank you so much.
Of course. Do you guys have any other questions? I hope this was helpful. I know that when I was pushing for certain ranks or goals, I just wanted like a magic answer. I just wanted someone to just like do this and you'll get that and it's done. But there is literally no magic answer. There is no magic button, no matter how many different calls you attend.
Mhm.
Well, I guess the magic answer is work. You just have to work for it and work for it like your life depends on it, and you're going to find success. So thank you guys for coming. And if you need this recording, let me know. And I hope we can do something like this again. Have a good night.